So I guess as a jumping off point, and it's somewhat relevant to what we're here about in terms of community, but what role are you seeing in terms of communities? You know, how are they beginning to help impact and further drive these both concepts as well as practices around open innovation?
So a community like the SAP Customer Network consists of companies that have already made major investments in SAP, not just the software, but of course the installation, the training, entering all the data, changing the processes internally to take the most advantage of the capabilities of what's there. These additional investments are actually much larger than the investments in the software itself. So these people are truly invested, but they're all trying to do somewhat different things. They've all got different challenges. They all want to differentiate versus their competitors, and they all want to delight their customers.
Right.
So that community of people with these really pressing needs, I think, is a powerful resource to identify not just what can be done, but what is it the companies who are already invested, what are they trying to do right now? And what are the biggest problems they're having getting that to happen? So that kind of feedback is valuable, of course, for SAP, but often even among the community members. They can learn not only from educating vendors like SAP, but they can learn from each other and finding ways to accomplish their objectives given all the investments they've made.
Okay, great. And I think picking up with that same kind of theme or tone, you've talked a lot about putting the customer at the center of solution creation and delivery. So both within and even outside the context or community, how does that relate, and how do you think that continues to evolve as we look down the road as it relates to open innovation?
One of the things I've been working on for the last few years is how do you innovate in services as opposed to innovating new products and new technologies. And one of the discoveries that has come not from myself, but from others who are studying innovation and services as well, is that you can't start in the R&D lab. You can't even start with a roadmap of intended activities over the next 3 to 5 years. You really have to start with the customer and ways that you can differentiate and delight your customers. And then you have to work backwards from that and look at the customer as a whole. So as I was describing, not just the software, but the installation, not just software installation, but the training, not just that, but entering in all the data, not just all that, but the processes that take advantage of this. That much more expanded view of what customers are really trying to do, I think is the right orientation for thinking about how can we innovate to help them do more.
Right. And so do you see roles, again, for customers in this case, not only just at the R&D level, but through the entire life cycle, whether it's go-to-market and other things?
I do. I see roles, and I also see new processes. So roles, for example, could be people who you might think of as a boundary spanner. Somebody who is conversant in not just one area, but can also converse over in another area and can translate between these two areas. That's a very powerful feature when you think about the customer in total. Not just their hardware, not just their software, but also their training and all the other things. That means you have to think about people who can really translate what's going on in hardware or software into people and training and incentives or metrics, these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So that's an important role. And then there's some new processes where instead of trying to develop things on your own and then present it to the customer, there are new processes where you actually invite the customers in very early and really kind of work with them to co-create what's going on. And so when we were talking a moment ago about agile methods and then this customer development process, that very rapid cycle of back and forth is a form of co-innovation. So that's a new kind of a process I'm seeing as well.
Great. And I think there'll be certainly other discussions within the Ovation community, but when we start looking at things like design thinking and what role that plays, and of course the InnoJams that we have going on, many times throughout the year, all of these kinds of things should help reinforce all of that.
Oh, I think so, and I think these methods, even the idea of asking a whole community of people, give us your ideas for innovation. We've had the employee suggestion box for 100 years, but we haven't had the ability to get these things at scale, to share them visibly and transparently with the whole community, to let the community interact and vote on these different approaches, and really, in a sense, prioritize which of these seem to be the most relevant for them. And so these are some very exciting new developments.
Great.